I'm James C634. Welcome back to the YouTube channel. In this video, I'm going to be talking about the Attack Titan. Now, the Attack Titan is probably the most famous, most infamous, and most easily recognized Titan out of all the 9 Titans, or well, out of all the Titans in the show. And this is obviously due to the fact that it's the MC's Titan, and it's the one we see the most in the show. Now, I'm going to talk about some of the Titan shifters that have had the Titan, what makes their one different, and then I'll talk about some of the past Attack Titans that we see, just like I have done with other videos. Now we're going to start off by giving a few background of the actual Titan, so a few bullet points to that. 1. After Karl Fritz left to set up Paradise Island and the Great Titan War started, the Attack Titan was the only Titan that wasn't claimed by Marley or by the Thybird family. It was the only one that managed to evade capture, and this is probably due to the fact that it has its ability to see future memories of the Titan shifters. And a second interesting fact about it is that in season 3 we hear Eren Yeager give us the name of his Titan, and we realize that the name of his Titan is actually the same name as the show in Japanese. So obviously that's really interesting. Now let's move on to the actual Attack Titan and Titan shifters. We're going to start off with Eren Kruger, who's the first person we see in the storyline to have the Attack Titan. But go into a bit of history about him. So after Karl Fritz left and went to the island, there were some of the Fritz family, some of the royal blooded family, not just nobles, but people who had royal blood, Fritz blood, that stayed in Marley, stayed in Marley, and they actually ended up setting up the Eldian Restorationists, the very first version of it. And Eren Kruger, his father, joined them, and then eventually the Marleyan police shut the group down, and they actually started killing members of the group. This is what happened to Eren Kruger's family, unfortunately. Now we know he had a sister, but the police set the house on fire with his whole family inside. The only reason he survived is because he hid in a closet, and he saw everything through the door, which is actually absolutely horrifying. And if you notice any of the Titan shifters that have a past, it's a really dark and really grim past. But so he watched his family die, and they didn't know he was alive in the house because of the fact that he was hidden in the closet. So time goes past, and he ends up finding a doctor. Like, he swears revenge on Marley, and what he does is he comes across a Eldian doctor posing as a Marleyan that people don't know is Eldian. Well, obviously that's why he's posing. But what he does is he fakes Marleyan tests and like documents to basically say that that Eren Kruger is actually Marleyan instead of Eldian. And this was so that he could join the Marleyan police, the people who killed his family, because this is strictly for Marleyans only. No Eldians allowed. So what he does is he joins this group, and he hides there undercover. But he knows that if he wants to stay hidden, he has to behave just like his Marleyan counterparts. So that's what he does, torturing tons of people, turning them into pure Titans, and sending them onto the island. Yeah, he does this for a very long time, and one day he comes across a young Grisha Yeager and his sister travelling to go see the airship. Now, if an Eldian wants to leave Liberia, the compound Liberia, and go visit the outside of Marley, they need papers. He stopped them and asked them for their papers. Unfortunately, they didn't have any papers, so he ended up taking Grisha Yeager aside and basically giving him a punishment for the two of them. But his partner took his sister aside, and we learned later on that he fed her 2 dogs, and her body was then found in a river. Oh my god, they're all so dark. Sorry, I already know this stuff, but yeah. And then he obviously claims that he knows nothing about this, but that's not true at all. So time passes for Mr. Kruger, and eventually he sets up a new version of the Eldian Restorationists, which is the one that Grisha Yeager eventually joins. Now, because he's part of the Marleyan police, he ends up giving them loads of information and secrets that they wouldn't normally have. And he is the owl. So you've heard of the owl referred to in the anime or the manga, which is the person, their kind of beneficiary. That's who the owl was. Aaron Kruger was the owl. Now, Aaron Kruger actually gained the Titan at some point during this time after meeting Grisha Yeager and setting up the group. He ended up getting the Attack Titan from some random person who we actually never see. We think they're the Doctor, but we don't ever see them on screen. So that's pretty much what it is to that. Now we're going to move on to Grisha Yeager. And as we've already said, his sister was unfortunately killed by the Merlian police. And eventually the owl sends somebody to go talk to Grisha Yeager and tells him the truth about what happened. And in hearing this, Grisha Yeager, his father was trying to basically make him a doctor and take up the family practice. And he was doing it quite well up until the moment he found out the truth about what happened to his sister and that the man was lying. But his father did try and give him loads of propaganda, Merlian propaganda, to kind of accept him. And one thing he did accept was that the world was just a cruel place until he found out the truth. Then he basically devoted himself to being an Eldian restorationist, and he became an extremist. That's the best way to put it. And this was a great part on Aaron Kruger's side, because he ended up becoming second in command to the Eldian restorationists and became a huge part in their organization. And when Aaron Kruger found out the last member of the royal family that was on Merle, he sent her to the group, and eventually her and Grisha Yeager ended up having Zeke Yeager, obviously, as we've seen. But one thing, like, as we know that he was passing down information, but some of the information he was passing down, he didn't pass it all down. So he didn't give them, he had promised to make Zeke and the warrior candidate and like help him with this, but Zeke was such a bad candidate that he couldn't even help. Because as we've seen, Zeke struggled with this a lot in my Beast Titan Explain video. You can go check that out. But the one thing we do learn is that he never told them about the 13 years. He only gave them information to kind of give them hope, and he told them the real reason why Merle was going to invade Paradise Island. He told them the truth about that. And eventually the organization got busted, as we know. He went to the island, and this was actually the first time that we're aware of that Aaron Kruger actually used his Attack Titan. That's the first time we see it, with its hollow eyes and pretty much just a normal 15-meter Titan, similar to Grisha Yeager's 15-meter Titan. The only difference is this had hair on its chest and it had less hollow eyes. It had actual eyes, sort of. And what happened is, once he passed the Titan on to Grisha Yeager, he ran all the way to the wall. Once he got there, he pretended like he had no memories besides his name and his occupation, and he met a member of the Scouts regiment who basically taught him how everything inside the walls worked. And this was obviously very handy for him. But my one question is, how did no one notice that this man showed up out of nowhere, even though it was just supposed to be them? Because the thing is, I feel like that information would have been passed along through the secret police inside the walls, and they would have gotten to the royal family, and the royal family would have been, oh god, there's somebody from outside of the island who's after coming here. Because they would have known, because they were the only people who knew the truth about what was actually going on. They knew about the outside world, whereas no one else did. Everyone else thought there was no outside world. So how did they not question that this random guy just showed up out of nowhere? But I suppose that's a side point that we'll focus on. Never, I suppose. I don't think we'll ever get an answer for that. But yeah, so he shows up, he learns about the place, and eventually he perfects his doctor, like he's a doctor inside, and he saves Carla Yeager's, her and her parent, well, Carla, I don't know what her first name is before Yeager, but he saves her and her family as a doctor, and he starts to gain a reputation as being a really good doctor. Eventually his clients get better and better and better, until he ends up treating a noble from inside the wall. And then eventually he gains a map to the church where they have the founding Titan transference ceremony at this place. Now, he ends up having a kid with Carla Yeager, so he wants to treat that kid better than what he did with Zeke and not make the same mistakes as he did the first time round. So he spends actual time with Aaron, treating him like an actual kid instead of giving him the one purpose of being a soldier. So Grisha didn't straight away try and gain the Founding Titan, even though he did go check out the place straight away and find it to make sure it was right. But he didn't go and claim it for almost 10 years. The day that the wall was attacked was the day that he actually claimed the Founding Titan, and then he forcefully gave this Titan to Eren Yeager along with the Attack Titan. Now Eren didn't even know that he had these abilities. He completely forgot. And it's actually quite interesting. This all happened for Eren. He got these powers when he was 10 years old and had no idea that he even had them. His backstory, again, is quite sad, just like the other two previous Titan shifters. His mom was eaten when he was 10 years old because of the Colossal and Armored Titan breaking down the wall. And he tried his best to fight back, and he used his powers throughout the show. Eventually, at the age of 19, he goes to Marley to get his half-brother and kind of get revenge. Now this kind of went well, kind of didn't, but that's not too much to do with the Attack Titan. When he had his Attack Titan, it was actually quite interesting. His Titan, it was pretty similar to the other two, once again 15 meters, but the difference is its jaw was wider and its tongue looked really creepy. Now, one thing that we see in common with the Yeager family is that all of their ears for the Titans are quite pointy. We see this with Grisha Yeager, Eren Yeager, and Zeke Yeager. I think that's really fascinating. Now, that's pretty much all there is to the Attack Titan. Okay, so I'm going to talk about some of the past Attack Titans now. So first off, I'm going to talk about a bald Attack Titan, which is just pretty much an Attack Titan, but it's bald, which is pretty uncommon for the Attack Titans, and its physique isn't as great as some of the other ones. Another one to talk about is sort of a mix between Eren Kruger and Eren Yeager's Attack Titan, with it having the hollow eyes of Eren Kruger's Attack Titan, and it has the jawline or the wide mouth of Eren Yeager's Attack Titan. And the third one, which I think is actually really funny, is a Chad Attack Titan. It looks like the Chad thing that's going around recently. That's what it looks like. And it's actually the only other Attack Titan to have hair on its chest. There's two Attack Titans that have hair on its chest. It's this one and Grisha Yeager's Attack Titan. So that's also another reason why I mentioned it. So that's it. The next video I'm going to be talking about is the Founding Titan, and that'll be the last of the Attack on Titan videos. Hopefully you guys have been enjoying them, and let me know if you want to see another series or another group of things from Anime Explained.